Have you ever had a to-do list a mile long, but you just couldn't bring yourself to start a single thing? You just sit there, staring at your screen or at the wall, feeling completely stuck, paralyzed. It's a frustrating, almost guilty feeling, right? You might even call yourself lazy. But what if I told you it has nothing to do with laziness? What if I told you there's a chemical war happening inside your brain, and your willpower is the casualty? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden battle between your stress hormone and your motivation hormone. We're going to explore exactly why stress absolutely demolishes your drive to get things done. And by the end of this video, you'll understand your brain in a way you never have before, and you'll have the keys to reclaiming your motivation. So, let's start with the hero of our story, dopamine. You've probably heard of it. It's often called the pleasure molecule, but that's not quite right. A more accurate description is the motivation molecule. Dopamine is your brain's go signal. It's the chemical of anticipation and drive. When your brain releases a healthy amount of dopamine, it's basically shouting, "Hey, that thing you're thinking about, that goal, it's important, it's worth pursuing, let's go get it." It sharpens your focus, boosts your energy, and makes the effort feel worthwhile. Think about the feeling you get right before you're about to eat your favorite meal, or when you're closing in on a big win in a game. That's dopamine, pushing you forward. It's the engine of your ambition. But then, the villain enters the scene. And its name is stress. It can come from anywhere: a looming deadline at work, a heated argument with a loved one, financial worries, or even just the constant low-grade hum of modern anxiety. Whatever the source, your brain perceives it as a threat. And when your brain senses a threat, it flips the big, red emergency switch. This triggers the release of our villain, cortisol, the primary stress hormone. Now, cortisol isn't inherently evil. In the short term, it's a lifesaver. Its one and only job is survival. Imagine our ancestors facing a saber-toothed tiger. Cortisol would flood their system, sharpening their senses, pumping blood to their muscles, and preparing them to either fight or flee. It's an ancient, powerful, and incredibly effective survival mechanism. To achieve this, cortisol has to make some executive decisions. It has to redirect all of the body's energy and resources toward immediate survival. And in doing so, it ruthlessly shuts down anything it deems non-essential for escaping that tiger. And here's the crucial part. What does your brain consider non-essential when it's in full-blown survival mode? Things like digestion, your immune system, and, you guessed it, long-term planning, ambitious goals, creative projects. That half-finished report, the desire to go to the gym. From your brain's primal perspective, when there's a tiger at the door, who cares about your 5-year plan? All that matters is asterisk right now, asterisk. This brings us to the heart of the problem, the core conflict of our story. Cortisol and dopamine are fundamentally they cannot coexist in a balanced way. Think of it like this. Your motivation system, driven by dopamine, is a clear, focused blue wave, calmly guiding you toward your goals. But when cortisol is released, it's like a massive, crashing red wave of emergency. And that red wave of stress doesn't just get in the way of the blue wave. It actively attacks it. Here's how it happens on a chemical level. When cortisol spikes, it literally makes the dopamine receptors in your brain less sensitive. It's like putting earmuffs on your brain's motivation centers. The dopamine is still there. Your brain might still be trying to send that go signal, but the message can't get through. The receptors are numb. The wall of emergency created by the red wave of cortisol is too thick, too loud. This is the precise biological reason why, when you are stressed out, you have absolutely zero motivation to tackle that big, important project. The very thought of it feels overwhelming. Your brain, in its cortisol-fueled state, simply cannot access the dopamine-driven focus and drive required for complex, long-term tasks. But here's the twist. Your brain is still desperate for some relief from the oppressive feeling of stress. It craves a dopamine hit, any dopamine hit, to try and counteract the cortisol. So, what does it do? It seeks out the path of least resistance. It looks for quick, easy, low-effort rewards. This is why, when you're stressed, you suddenly find yourself mindlessly scrolling through social media for an hour, or reaching for sugary snacks, or binge-watching a TV show you don't even really like. Each notification, each bite of junk food, provides a tiny, fleeting spike of dopamine. It's a cheap, easy fix. It's your brain's desperate attempt to self-medicate, to find a moment of relief in a sea of stress. But it's a trap, because these small hits do nothing to address the underlying cortisol problem, and they drain your energy for the tasks that actually matter. So, that's what happens during acute stress. But what happens when that stress isn't just a temporary tiger at the door? What happens when the stress becomes chronic? When the deadline is always looming, the worries are always present, and that red wave of cortisol is always high. This is where things get truly dangerous. Your system can't stay in emergency mode forever. Your adrenal glands, which produce cortisol, start to get fatigued. They've been working overtime for weeks, months, or even years. They start to burn out. Simultaneously, your dopamine system, after being constantly suppressed and ignored, essentially gives up. It stops trying to send signals. The receptors have become so desensitized that it's no longer effective. This isn't just low motivation anymore. This is the clinical state we call burnout. Burnout is a state of profound emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged stress. It's a state of complete numbness. The interesting thing about true burnout is that you might not even feel anxious anymore. The cortisol system is too exhausted to mount a response. But you also feel nothing else. No joy, no excitement, and absolutely no motivation. You're running on empty. You've exhausted your stress response, and you've completely silenced your motivation engine. So, if you're in this state, how do you get your motivation back? How do you reignite that dopamine system? The answer, and this is the most important takeaway from this video, is not to try harder. It's not to force yourself or be more disciplined. Pushing against that wall of numbness is like trying to rev an engine that has no fuel. It's pointless and will only lead to more frustration. The answer is to manage the red wave first. You have to lower your baseline cortisol levels. You must fix the stress before you can even begin to think about fixing the motivation. You have to convince your brain that the tiger is gone and it's safe to come out of the cave. How do you do that? It's not about grand gestures, it's about simple, foundational, biological resets. Start by going for a walk. Just 15 minutes of gentle movement, preferably in nature, can significantly lower cortisol. Focus on your breathing. Practice slow, deep belly breaths for 5 minutes. This directly activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's rest and digest mode, the direct opposite of the fight or flight stress response. Prioritize your sleep. Sleep is when your brain and body do gigich, most critical repair work, including flushing out excess cortisol. And here's a powerful psychological trick. Complete just one tiny task. Make your bed, wash one dish, answer one email. The act of completing a task, no matter how small, provides a genuine earned dopamine hit. It sends a signal to your brain that says, "See, we can do things. We have control." It's a small crack of light in the darkness. By consistently doing these small cortisol-lowering activities, you begin to turn down the volume on that emergency signal. You slowly drain the red wave. And only then, when the storm starts to calm, can the quiet, focused blue wave of dopamine finally be heard again. Your motivation isn't gone. It hasn't been destroyed. It's been there all along, patiently waiting for the storm to pass. If this explanation helped you understand what's happening inside your own mind, please consider giving this video a like. It really helps the channel reach more people who might be feeling stuck and blaming themselves. And if you enjoy these deep dives into the science of how your mind and body work, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Thank you so much for watching.